Hey everyone, how's it going? Pixels. In today's video, I'm giving you my best builds for every single survivor in either of the game. So this is going to be a bit of a long video. I'm going to split it up into chapters for each survivor as well. So if you want to just scroll through the video of the particular survivor you want the best build for, be sure to do that. So I've already got the builds designed. You know, usually in my build videos, I'll do a little gameplay segment and, you know, I'll talk through the build as I'm spending the points. It's going to be a bit different, however. So with all these builds, this is going to be for level 25 only. You know, I do have a lot of prestige points and stuff. I have taken them out of the build. So this is going to be like the best base builds for the characters. Let's start off with Leader Ash. So recently I did a Leader Ash Prestige 5 video, which I went through his build with. So we'll just quickly go through the build. So obviously we have great influence there. 10 meters is more than enough. You know, we have Awful Dodger maxed out. Always max out Awful Dodger on leaders because you get 4 dodges with the pink fuck upgrades. Industrial strength, of course. And, you know, the way I play this guy, I like to spam finishes, so I just buffed up the balance bar, the melee damage. And to be a real pain in the ass for demons, I maxed out fast forward with this guy, and then Master of Influence as well. For those of you who don't know, and I will repeat myself again, like I said, my last video going about Master of Influence in the Leader Ash build, it is multiplied, it is not added on. For some reason, I mentioned that in the last build, people got a bit, well, one person got confused and for some reason thought I said it added on. It doesn't, it is multiplied. So 20% again of, you know, a base would be 15% of his aura and 20% for fear resistance. It is multiplied. So you will, if you work it out, 10% is 1.5%. Okay, so then you double that, so it's 3% added on, which is an 18% overall damage buff. And the same thing goes for fear resistance. You know, you get an extra 4% there. So that's how it works. And for some bizarre reason, someone in my last video didn't understand that. They thought I said it adds on 20%. It does not. It multiplies on 20% basically. So this is the best build for Leader Ash. I swear by this build. I've been running it for I don't even know how long now, like 10 months. And with the extra skill points, sorry, what I do is I just buff up my range damage. Like, that's it. That's all I did with this guy. I made it really simple. And like I said, I do have a Prestige 5 build out for him and anyways. But yes, I've been running this build for a long time. I swear by it. It is definitely my best build that I can run on the character. I absolutely love it. If someone is putting last word, okay, in Leader Ash on their build video, don't fucking pay attention to them, please. Just don't do it. No. Last word on Leader Ash, that's, you know, that's some damage hungry narcissism, or I don't even know. Right. Let's move on. Just don't do it. Okay, so Annie, let's move on to Annie. Annie is a bit different. So Annie, I didn't actually go for Master of Influence, mainly because I don't think her aura offers much in terms of a buff. You know, you get an extra 5% there. Maybe with her prestige, you know, a prestige 1, I'd think about doing it because, you know, you're getting an extra 6%, you know, range damage there, which again, it's not a massive amount. The thing is with Leader Ash, his is so much better because it doubles. So Leader Ash is actually doubles with his El Jefe Grande when you spam finishes and dismemberment. So with Annie, it doesn't really make much of a difference. Even with the balance bar stuff, you know, you're only going to get an extra 3% there. With the balance bar against boss damage, the boss units, sorry, again, that doesn't really make much of a difference either, especially because people tend to level up their boss units 5 out of 5 in any way where you won't do any balance bar damage. So I designed her build to be more range spec, so obviously having great influence because she's a range character. I feel like she's not going to stay next to the teammates so much. So, you know, kind of having that bigger aura range, as it were, is definitely effective on this character. I've just got 1 point at a cardio. You know, you could argue you could take a point out of there and spend it somewhere else. You know, maybe he's in some range balance bar damage or some melee balance bar damage. I just like to have the extra 5% there, just so I can sprint around a bit more. Her being a range character, I like to move around quite a lot, so definitely works for the character. Again, you know, maxing out Awful Dodger, like I said before, 4 dodges, you need that. Deep pockets ammo, obviously a ranged character needs that. Again, because she's moving around, you know, even, you know, you could potentially go down as Annie as well. The aura will persist even if you bleed out or become a soul. Echoes of the aura as well, because she's a ranged character moving around so much, at least your teammates will still get the effect for 3 seconds if they leave your aura. And again, fast forward, because you should run fast forward on almost every leader in the game because it's such a headache of a perk against demon. And just 1 point industrial strength. Like I said, she's a range character. I tend to try and stay out of combat as much as possible. However, if I do get in combat, this is where we have our nifty sea and stars here with a 10% balance bar damage. And of course, with her aura, you get a 15% balance bar damage there as well. So you do a lot of balance bar breaking with her, you know, using something like a sledgehammer, and then, you know, just using something like a revolver or a blunderbuss or a hunting rifle, whatever is like opposite the ammo type to what your hunter is using. I like to use on Annie. And by the way, like I said, you got deep pockets of ammo, so you can pick up a shit ton of ammo for everyone as well. But yeah, wig splitter as well. You know, she's a pretty self-explanatory character, all kind of range focused and moving around objectives and still giving aura buff there. I did mess around with some quicker cooldown stuff. It doesn't work too bad on Annie. However, that's something I may look at later on down the line if I ever got this character prestige. So just bear that in mind if you do like level her up in prestige. Looking for quicker cooldown there definitely helps out. I mean, you know, it's a 4.5% 4.5 second cooldown reduction there, which isn't too bad. You know, it's almost 5 seconds. I think it does actually scale up to like 5 seconds, so it will go to like a 40-second cooldown. But I mean, once you get her prestige level 5, it goes to a 40-second cooldown anyways. But you know, it might just be something for you guys to look at. But yeah, that's the best Annie build I have to offer there. Okay, so let's move on to Lord Arthur. So Lord Arthur was a bit of a difficult one. I decided to just run my leader Ash build on him because I feel like he's just designed in the same way, you know, spamming finishes. You could argue, you know, going for last word. However, I think last word is something that you want to get to when you prestige the character rather than something that you want to run on him as a base build. So yeah, just, you know, copying the leader Ash build, you know, fast forward again. Master of Influence, you know, this dude gets some decent benefits from Master of Influence, you know, 25% damage buff there. I mean, yeah, he's only going to get an extra 5%. I mean, but at base, you will go up to 30% there, which is basically having him prestiged. I have him prestiged, of course, so I do have a 30% base now. Which will go up to 36%, so with Master of Influence. So that's not a terrible thing. And then obviously it gets a lot more complicated with the Lord's Wrath and the extra melee damage that offers as well, which scrambles my brain a bit trying to figure that one out. But yeah, so you know, he's a decent character. I think he's one of the most fun characters to play in the game, I'll be honest with you. But for me, he definitely needs some work, but he's just fun to play. You know, you pop the Lord's Wrath and you spam finishes, and you look cool doing it. So that's how I like Lord Arthur. But yeah, just copying my leader Ash build there. So Ruby was a bit of a difficult one because she's all about cooldown, damage reductions, and you know, she has such a like big aura. So what I will say about Ruby, she's a bit complicated. So with the base design on Ruby, her aura doesn't offer a great amount at the moment. Once you get her prestige, however, like, she gets kind of broken. So if you do get Ruby prestige, this build will change up definitely. So right now, as a base build, I actually run this as my best build for her. It might seem a bit off, but let me explain. So Great Influence, I have that maxed out because no matter what, like, you'll have such a big radius that any unit that dies in that radius of your aura, you will gain back as a soul, which is massively clutch, especially during objectives. You'll gather a lot of souls very fast with this. Again, awful dodger, we don't need to explain that. Industrial strength, yeah. So I went for Seasoned Survivor basic right now, which is an extra 5% damage reduction, and the reason I went with that is just because of her aura. Going over here, because of her aura, which is you know, she has a damage reduction there of 20% at base, so you know, going up to like 25% damage reduction from one skill point against a basic unit isn't bad. And since basic units are just meta these days, like, everyone uses them on Ball, Puppeteer, Plaguebringer, you know, it doesn't hurt to have that as well as like 4 dodges and industrial strength, does it? It might seem a bit overkill, but honestly, there's not much else you can really go for with Ruby right now. When you've got her at base and you don't have her leveled up. So yeah, I only had for 1 point in Master Influence right now. And again, I just wanted to max out fast forward there. So that's kind of how the build works. And you know, I prefer doing melee damage, over range damage. However, if you're more comfortable doing range damage instead, I recommend going for some range stuff. However, if you're planning on doing that, just make sure you only put 1 point in a balance bar damage, because going up to 15% is not really that worth it. And just make sure you do that, and then you will have a couple of points to play around with. Since I have a prestige 2, I do have an extra skill point, so it says I have 3, but I really only have 2 to have the whole 25. So I mean, you know, going for deep pockets ammo there works great if you want to do a range build on her. However, it's entirely up to you with your type of play style. You might want to do a bit of both, but I recommend just doing that. And I don't know, wherever I had my, I think I had my skill point here. But yeah, this is the build I like to run on her. But once you get her prestige 1, you will change this build up drastically. So what you will end up doing is taking some points out of here, and then I mean taking a point out of there, sorry, as well. So and then you just max out Master of Influence, and that's assuming you still only have 25 skill points. Because, you know, you won't have her, you know, level 26 straight away. So this is what I would do if I had a prestige 1, basically. Just because she offers a lot more with Master of Influence once you get her prestige, because she gets a big aura buff there. So yeah, that's like my best Ruby build. So like I said, before prestige you want to do that, and then after prestige you want to take some points out of greater influence and put it in Master of Influence there. So yeah, she was a bit of a complicated one. Hopefully he's followed along with that. And let's move on to Brock. So Brock, again, I like to make him a bit of a pack rat. I went cardio maxed out with this guy because I just want to be running around like a maniac, and because this guy actually doesn't have much stamina upgrades on his pink fuck, I kind of wanted to upgrade it in the skill tree to 10% there, and then also have an awful dodger maxed out. I think you can get 3 dodges with him with it maxed out, and then because unfortunately he doesn't get the 4th dodge like the rest of them. However, he does have a neat ability about all eyes on me there, so it has a 10-second duration as well. I put quicker cooldown on that because I'm not sure what the cooldown is because I haven't played Brock in a while, but I know it did have quite a hefty cooldown when I did design this build, so I kept the quicker cooldown on that, and it definitely helped out. I buffed up industrial strength as well. I don't want to be very squishy when I'm playing Brock, especially because of his ability, you know, not being able to be staggered, which is good. But you know, being a pack rat, you know, carrying like a shitload of ammo for your team is very great. Unfortunately, you know, Master Influence doesn't work well on him, so I didn't bother going for fast forward. However, you know, once I get him prestiged, or if I got some extra skill points, I'd probably put a point into there and then put the extra 4 points into fast forward. So with Brock, you know, he can be a bit of a hybrid between range and melee, depending on how much pink fuck you get to spend in the game as well. You know, mainly, like I said, I'm a melee type of guy, and Last Word works great on this guy, mainly just because he has the 20% extra attack speed on the pink fuck upgrades. And combined with his ability, he's less likely to be staggered as well, and you know, he's not going to be interrupted during those attacks, so you can run Last Word on him and not really worry too much about it, and you can do some crazy damage there. However, I think Brock really lacks in a leader. He feels more of a support character. You know, his aura buffs aren't great at all. Even once you get him prestige, you know, you're only getting an extra 2% there per certain class on your team. But yeah, it's honestly not a great aura effect compared to the other leaders in the game. His best perk arguably is I Am the Manager, and like I said, it's more of a support type of perk where he's just being a little pack rat for the team. And so I just designed his build around that, and then I designed his build around, you know, his better 2 perks. So that is my best Brock build. I stand by it. I think it works fantastic for me. I mean, you guys might have different opinions and different play styles. Like I said, you might want to go for range damage because he offers the faster reload speed. However, you know, if you have hunters on your team, you don't want to be hogging all the ammo, despite you being able to pick up a lot of ammo there. But he can work well as a range character just because he can carry a lot of ammo. I think he can carry more ammo than hunters as well, which is pretty crazy. So, yeah, not a bad build for him. All right, moving on to the big boy and the guy I've been playing since the beta days. So, I feel like I perfected his base build, honestly. I've spent so much time on this character, doing so many different builds, chainsaw builds, and everything. As a base build, this one is just almost perfect for me, honestly. I absolutely love it. Most warriors these days, I mean, warriors are really struggling in the current meta with ball and all the spamming going on and stuff. So with most warriors these days, you need to be maxing out Awful Dodger. And yes, I know you only still get 2 dodges. However, you get a 35% different, you know, cost reduction on stamina, which arguably gives you 3 dodges, which is absolutely massive on a character that is basically a tank and does crazy heavy damage. So the playstyle for this build is, and let me be very clear here, this is not for damage numbers. People need to stop getting so excited over damage numbers on builds. I promise you, you know, Army of Darkness Ash can be more than capable of doing enough damage with this build with just heavy hitter equipped. People don't need to be thrown on Last Word with Army of Darkness Ash because it's just so counterintuitive with a character. You know, with my extra 5 points, what I start to do is, I mess around a bit. I start going for two-handed weapon mastery and stuff like that, which can help a lot. However, it's still not effective for the character. So what you need to be doing with him is always spamming finishes. That is the best way to play him. Yes, I know you could say you can still spam finishes if you go for Last Word. The thing is, right, if you're too busy swinging heavy attacks at every single basic unit that comes your way, or elite unit, like crazy AI or whatever, you're not going to be buffing up his shield, which is arguably like his best perk in the game. And unfortunately, I think this got nerfed. It used to be 60, I can't remember, but shield bar restored is 40. It's not a lot, however it gives you a purpose to play the character. You know, spamming finishes. Potion cooldown, very important on this guy, because his potion is like one of the best perks in the game, or if not like one of the best active abilities in the game. Obviously at base you get a 30% damage increase, 25% damage reduction, 250 health restored there, and a 30 fee reduction there, so it can work fantastic. When it gets prestiged, it's even more broken. So again, it's something you want to design the build around here. So like I said, with this build and how my mindset is with it, so spamming finishes on AI, basically, you know, we have Tougher Than Hell there. You have extra dodges to chain the finishes a lot quicker as well, so you can dodge between AI units and all that good stuff, especially if you've got a possession on your ass. It works great. Reinforced Amulet there combined with Tougher Than Hell. And what I will say is 1 point in industrial strength is more than enough. You will get more healing from your potion. Your supports will heal you a lot more. It just works out a lot better, to be honest. So obviously, like I said, the main thing here is damage reduction, and the reason you go for Tougher Than Hell mixed with Reinforced Amulet is, you know, you're getting a 20% damage reduction there, which is crazy. You know, if you decided, you know, take the points out of there, damage reduction wise, and you went like that, that is going to cost your support so much more to try and heal you up. So what we do is we take the points out of there and put them into there, and you're basically still getting the same amount of health minus 5%, you know, and you're getting the same amount of health, and the supports can still heal you for a better amount, if that makes sense. It just works out so much better doing damage reduction on this game. And then you've got the extra 5% there from Seasoned Survivor basic, so overall you're getting a 25% damage reduction on any possessed basic unit in the game. And then, you know, once you get the extra prestige points, you can start buffing these up a little bit as well. Me personally, I mean, you know, once you want to deal with some possessions here, this is where Awful Dodger comes into effect again as well. So being able to start swinging those heavy attacks on, you know, possessed units is why we have Heavy Hitter in this build. And then, you know, we have balance bar damage stacked out. So, I mean, arguably, if you want to deal with possessions, you could go for Last Word. But as a base build, so many people go for Last Word. With this guy, it just, you know, it doesn't make sense. People are really trying to just look very fancy on leaderboards these days, and it's kind of cringe, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, you know, damage net, it was never this guy's like strongest suit. But with my extra 5 skill points, you know, I would just, you know, start buffing up elites and boss unit, like damage reduction there. And I mean, you know, you kind of spoiled for choice with the extra 3 points, and if you wanted to, you could go for an extra 10% on your heavy attacks there. So while you're swinging the heavy attacks on basics possessions or elite possessions, The balance bar will get absolutely smacked there with the heavy attacks too. So there's definitely different ways you can go with this guy. But for a base build, like I said, looking at this one, I think it's almost perfect for him. And like I said, have an awful dodger there. Don't design this guy around the chainsaw, please. Just don't do it. The chainsaw is in such a horrible state, and it always has been. And, you know, you're getting an extra 20% balance bar damage and dismemberment damage, really, and the plus 5% attack speed. It's terrible. The heavy attacks don't work great on it at all. Really, you need to be using, you know, a sledgehammer, swords, and lumberjack axes on this guy. That's like the main weapon you need to be using. If you're using a chainsaw, you're pretty much almost thrown the game for your team there. So, yes, AoD Ash was very complicated to get through. I'm very sorry it took a long time. But he is very, you know, like, I'm very experienced with this guy, and I'm just trying to get my points across onto why damage is just not like the most effective design for that guy. So the next one is Scotty. Scotty, I did actually go for last word in. So this is my best build on Scotty. It's extremely squishy. However, I believe in you guys to be quite an experienced warrior player by now. The problem is it's not great for solo queue. Okay, any build that I'm showcasing that has industrial strength, you know, just one is not great for solo queue. But this is not a solo queue. This is, you know, sort of experienced people and people that are, you know, building around team members and stuff like that. However, you know, I cope well with this build. It looks very squishy on paper. You know, you're only getting an extra like 13%, like arguably 13% extra health here. But you know, we have last word and we have awful dodger, and then we have just crazy heavy attack damage with some extra balance bar thrown in there as well. So you get a lumberjack axe on this guy that you will not be taking much damage because you pretty much have the 3 dodges there. Hopefully you have like a support ash or something next to you. Even then, like, you can absolutely just destroy any unit the game's like that the demon wants to throw at you once you get that lumberjack axe. Or, you know, to be honest, any two-handed weapon will work great. You get any of those, like, you will just obliterate anything in front of you early game as well. And by then, you know, once the demon actually does become kind of effective, the only thing you're going to struggle against here is like a power possess against Elagos, which you shouldn't really be doing a 1v1 against most of the time anyways. But even then, you know, I've 1v1'd a lot of power possess Elagos with this build as well. Just throwing a lumberjack, like a common lumberjack axe, you know, doing nearly 1,000 damage with last word. It works great. So that's my best Scotty build. That's the one I like to run. Like I said, it's very squishy, but don't underestimate the power of awful dodger 3 and 3 on warrior. I promise you that. Once you get used to that playstyle of swinging heavy attacks and having this as your backup to like do your combos a lot easier, I mean, you're going to be laughing. You really are. So the next one is Henry the Red. Henry the Red, I just kind of... I mean, this one was a bit of an interesting one. So, obviously, I just buffed up his amulets because this guy, you know, I feel like you need to be living in your amulet or your shield bar as much as possible with this dude. And of course, he has like an extra, was it 10% at base? Yeah, so he has an extra 10% at base on industrial strength. So you'll have 20% there in anyway. And the crazy thing is then you'll have damage reduction on top of that. So then, you know, you're going up like 30% and then, you know, 40% reinforced amulet or whatever. So you're going to have crazy stuff there. Then you've got improved amulet too. It's just, oh, sorry. No, you're not going to, yeah. No, that's right. That's right. Yeah, you're going to have improved amulet as well for an extra 10%. I don't go that on other warriors because I don't think it's worth it. But with this guy, it's obviously worth it because he gets like an extra 10% there. So, you know, you're getting an overall like extra 20% on your shield bar length. It's probably multiplied. I've never really worked it out, the whole shield bar length stuff. However, running this build, it just works for me. Because this guy's such a tank, I actually didn't go for awful dodger on him. He's the one guy I didn't go on for it, just because I needed the quicker cooldown on his ability. You know, it's hard to argue having 10 seconds shaved off someone's ability in the game, especially Henry the Red. You know, those 10 seconds can make a big difference, trust me, especially trying to get some clutch revives with Henry. And for damage wise, all we really did was just go for balance bar there and some heavy hitter with a sledgehammer. I feel like that's more than enough with this guy. And like I said, he's going to be more of a tank, and, you know, he's going to be soaking up a lot of damage with him, and, you know, playing sort of like a support warrior type of build. mainly just because of the quicker cooldown, getting revives for your team and all that good stuff. So yeah, I mean, he's a fun warrior to play, don't get me wrong. I just I still prefer Scotty and Army Darkness Ash these days. But yeah, I mean, you know, arguably you could take some points out of there because he has that as a perk and anyways. And then you've got 3 more points to play around with. You can go for Awful Dodger if you wish, or, you know, you can go for an extra bit of balance bar damage, which I've messed around with a bit. It's not a terrible thing, especially if you're using a sledgehammer. You can break some balance bars pretty crazy there. But it's entirely up to you. Like I said, I like to just run a full tank build on him, and it just works great, honestly. Like I said, industrial strength is not worth it on that guy. It really isn't, because most of the time you'll be living in your shield bar anyway. So Mia is a very complicated one. She gives me a headache, but I just went for the same type of build I went with Scotty. The only difference is I just went out with balance bar damage, just because I feel like she offers more with bleed damage than focusing on balance bar damage. Yes, you're not going to be stunning units, but you know, the crazy thing is if you're going to get the last word hit on there, you know, her bleed damage is just going to be absolutely nuts. So yeah, not much to say about Mia. Like I said, she's been a real headache for me, you know, doing quicker cooldown build. Like, there's just so many different, like, avenues you can go with her, where any build you run on her is not really terrible, apart from one-handed, doing weapon mastery with a machete. Yeah, don't be doing that, please. Anyone that plays Mia using a machete, you are killing your teammates. You are giving the demon extra ammunition against your team, and you don't want to be doing that. So please avoid doing machete builds on this character. And please just focus on using swords and lumberjack axes and sledgehammers. Doing one-handed stuff. You want to be maximizing her bleed damage as much as possible. Blood Rain is just crazy, you know, 10% damage there. So if you're hitting nearly 1,000 damage, you're going to be bleeding them for like 100 there, quite a lot. So it's going to be crazy if you do that. Especially if you get a good two-handed weapon. I mean, you'll be getting even more damage as well, just because of her uncontrollable active ability and the fear leads to anger stuff. So, and like I said, because you'd be swinging so many heavy attacks with Mia, having Awful Dodge there again for the dodges definitely helps out. So yeah, this is my best Mia build. This is the one I stick by. I'm not going to be changing it anytime soon. And, you know, I've tried fear reduction stuff. Actually works pretty decently. You'd be surprised, combined with her ability. You know, fear reduction stuff, it's a bit of a weird one, because obviously you need more fear to do more damage on her. However, it helps you control your fear levels a bit better. But since Ball has come out, it's really pointless. It really is. It doesn't matter, because Ball is just broken on the fear level stuff. So running fear reduction on Warrior is just a bit of a meme at this point. However, before Ball was out, this worked out pretty good. But yeah, I don't really focus on amulets. I just, you know, go for health, really. You know, buffing up my health, and my health damage reduction there works great for Mia. But yeah, that's my best build that I run on her. Okay, so now we're moving on to Hunter Ash. So Hunter Ash, again, was a bit a difficult one, because, you know, there's multiple ways you can build him up. You know, you can go for, like, crazy headshot damage. You can potentially go for, like, a blunderbuss build on this guy. That's not going to be too terrible. However, I kind of like to just play around with his double barrel, and the way I like to play him is very fast-paced, you know, getting in a vehicle straight away, basically, and rushing all the map pieces with his quicker cooldown ability. I mean, Hunter Ash, for me, is the best character in the game, and he just has so many different play styles and methods you can play him, and they're all very effective. But like I said, the main thing I like to do is the map piece rushing. Obviously, having my double barrel there, and, you know, just kind of specking my build around the double barrel a little bit definitely helps out with this. Like I said, you can do, like, blunderbuss builds, but, you know, it's nothing amazing if you do a blunderbuss build on him. It can work, but I still recommend that you stick with the double barrel, or, you know, you can kind of swap between the two if you do a prestige build. So if you have a prestige build in mind, if you want to buff up Last Chance, what Last Chance will do is the second shot on your double barrel will actually do an extra 20% damage there, which is very nice. And it also gives you the option to actually branch out to using like a blunderbuss type of weapon as well. But obviously for a base build, this is what I like to run. I like to have damage reduction from traps and fear reduction from traps with max fear, no evil. You know, being a hunter, you don't want to get possessed. This can counter ball a little bit as well. Combined with light therapy. Do not underestimate light therapy, please. I think it is a great perk, especially during objectives. If you're standing near a light source, it can really bring your fear level down quite fast. And you are playing hunter, so standing near a light source is like your primary thing, really, playing on an objective and hitting them with ranged attacks. So that's what I like to do with this guy for his build. You know, just take note of it. I always like put an extra point in the long shot as well, just to get that like an extra 10% on the range damage there, so you get a maximum of 15. I think that works great. And, you know, looking at like a double barrel mastery, once you get in prestige, it's pretty crazy. You know, 25% extra damage, 25% dismemberment, balance bar, and increased reload speed by 25%. It's absolutely insane. So that, like, buffing or designing the build around those buffs for the character, I think is fantastic. And I like to go for that reduced spread as well, so make sure all the pellets hit every target as well. Sometimes you can take a point out of there. And like I said, you know, you can go for headshot damage as well. It's entirely up to you. I mean, I recommend if you're playing on console, not to really go for Wig Splitter and just trying to go for like overall damage. But Wig Splitter can work great as well, with extra prestige points, of course, later on down the line for you guys. But it's entirely up to you. You know, you can go max out for some last chance there for some overall damage, or you can kind of go for some increased headshot damage there. But yeah, that's my best build for Hunter Ash, and that's the one I like to run on my streams all the time, and it's just fantastic, honestly. I love doing it. All right, so now we're going to move on to Ed Getley. Ed Getley's not a character I've really played a lot of. It's a bit of a basic build. It's sort of similar to Hunter Ash, except for we don't have the quicker cooldown for his... it's a trap ability. I don't think there's much point in adding a quicker cooldown to that. Yes, you will get 11 seconds shaved off to it, but it's not a fantastic perk. It can counter ball in some situations. However, I'd rather kind of buff my character's damage up rather than just having a cooldown there for his ability. I don't really spec around his crossbow mastery either. This used to be pretty decent, but, you know, a 5% extra damage buff is pretty pointless on a crossbow. I'm not sure why this perk got nerfed so much. It used to be 20%, then it got put down to 10%. And now it's a 5%, and then 10% once you get prestige. It's very bizarre. Obviously, like, the best perk for him is the collector. Just because obviously you open the loot for the entire team, so that's like arguably his best perk. So then he's just kind of a generic hunter at this point. What do you go for? And what I say is, because he can like disable traps, I don't bother going for the trap perks here. I still have my light therapy there combined with fear reduction, or fear resistance, sorry, or whatever you want to call it. So fear no evil, light therapy, good combination there. I have headshot damage and then last chance. So my primary thing here is using like an explosive crossbow, a normal crossbow, or even going for a blunderbuss. Primarily a blunderbuss for me. That's like the main weapon I like to use on this guy. And obviously having deadly up close there works fantastic too. Just for that overall range damage. But yeah, this is my best Ed Getley build. I don't play a lot of the character. It's a pretty basic build. That's just what I like to run on him. And then we're going to move on to Kelly. So Kelly is a bit of a hybrid warrior hunter character. What I have gone for her, though, is what I like to use on her the most is revolvers and shotguns. So again, I've maxed out surgical spread there. Surgical strike, sorry. So we, you know, reduced the spread on the shotguns. And Wig Splitter for that maximum damage to go with her bleed, and also some fear reduction and damage reduction from traps, and of course light therapy maxed out with fear no evil as well. What you can do is take a point out of fear reduction there on light therapy and then put it in a long shot if you prefer doing that. If you want to primarily focus using revolvers and not using shotguns on Kelly, however, I always recommend using a shotgun on Kelly because I think it works the best. But revolvers don't work too bad, or like a hunting rifle, so it all depends on what weapon you're looking to use on Kelly. Like I said, I just prefer using shotguns on her, like boomsticks or double barrels. So what you can do is then take points out of there. Then you've got some points to play around with as well. You know, you could have 3 points there. You can go into doing some last chance type of damage. Or you can make a blunderbuss build on her. However, for me, this is my best Kelly build. What did I have it in before? I had it in light therapy there, and I had, yeah, surgical strike maxed out. But yeah, this is the one I like to run on her the most. I think it's a lot of fun. The problem is with her, she's just such a hybrid, and she just has so many different avenues to explore. You know, you can even start doing some lone wolf stuff. with Devastating Force, with your Meat Hammer. You can actually rush some map pieces with her with this type of build as well, because you'll be alone. You're not going to be you're not going to be using up all your ammo, you know, taking down the AI while you're getting the map pieces as well. So then you have Lone Wolf as your backup there to actually, you know, do some finishes and get rid of the AI while you're trying to get the map pieces. But yeah, I mean, then she has like the infinite dodge as well, so that's why I never went for like up and awful dodger on the character, just because she has that as an ability as well. But yeah, this is my best Kelly build. This is the one I pretty much run all the time. I'm always playing around with Kelly builds and changing it up depending on what type of weapon I want to use. But mainly speaking, using shotguns and, you know, even hunting rifles can still work in this build. They won't get a benefit from surgical strike, but they will get a benefit from wig splitter as well, and that'll just convert into some nice bleed damage with her. So yeah, that's my favorite Kelly build I run at the moment. So Amanda, my build I don't think has changed really since launch. This might actually be sort of similar to what I had before. So Amanda, I don't actually have light therapy on her. She's the one hunter I don't run it on. And the main reason being is that we have some fear reduction from traps, and we have Fear No Evil there, so it kind of works well for her. And the thing is with Amanda, with her getting possessed, I think her best weapon is a blunderbuss. And any other weapon, like a single shot weapon, is her best weapon. So even if she gets possessed, she's not going to like do crazy damage to the team. She has to reload constantly. You know, all those things that you're not going to have to really worry about getting possessed too much and doing crazy damage to your teammates. So that's why, you know, speccing into fear with her is not really that important. But yeah, this is the best build I run on Amanda. She's very one-dimensional for me. I just go for a full blunderbuss buff build, hitting headshots with a blunderbuss and just doing crazy damage with her. I mean, using this build, it looks very basic, but in the amount of times I've hit nearly 100k damage with a common blunderbuss with this build is crazy. So yeah, I recommend using this build on Amanda. There's obviously a lot more builds you can do with Amanda with her pistol. The 9mm pistol is actually one of the worst weapons in the game. It actually has lower damage than the fucking SMG, which makes no sense whatsoever. It should do more damage. Obviously, it will do more damage with her, but I just for ammo economy for like sakes, you don't want to bother buffing that up. So that's my best Amanda build there. And now we're going to move on to support Ash. So I've been playing this guy a lot recently. You might have seen it in my streams, and this is the sort of the build I run on him. So this is my base build without the prestige points. So we have Shems Plus there. Always max out Shems Plus on your supports, just because you'll heal yourself a lot more. You'll actually heal your team a little bit extra as well. It's a very small percentage extra, but it does actually help out. And then obviously we got like first aid you got to go for. Extra Shems, industrial strength, tougher than hell. I actually maxed this out once you get in prestige. I recommend maxing this out so it has a nice combination with industrial. And then I go for like pack and pop there. So I start with an extra Shems. But for right now, for the base build, I'd run this. Run anything that's a 3-speed purple weapon is fantastic, like a staff, hand axe, pickaxe. The pickaxe is my personal favorite. But also running a common lumberjack axe or something to get that last word hit. Don't use anything like, I wouldn't really recommend a shovel, or I mean, the sledgehammer's not too bad. The problem is with those weapons, they will get interrupted during, you know, they don't have hyper armor, so they'll get interrupted, and most likely you won't be able to get your last word hit off. That's why I like the 3-speed purple weapons. They have somewhat quite a decent amount of hyper armor there. And the lumberjack axe works fantastic as well. But yeah, you can do some crazy damage. I've hit like over 50,000 damage with this guy quite frequently recently in some games, and also just crazy healing, over 30,000 healing with this build. So, and like I said, the only thing I really buff up is like from prestige is I buff up my health and like my extra cola there. I don't actually go for any extra damage, but yeah, just focusing on spamming heavy attacks, pulling back, hitting headshots. You know, headshots can be very important with this guy as well, especially if you've got hunters on your team. So primary for me, when I do play this guy, I usually hit the headshots on the bosses and like the tougher elite units. Basics I don't really tend to waste my time with, because most of the time my teammates will group up on a basic, and then, you know, you're swinging heavies, healing the team in the process as well. And he's also the best support in the game. So for that particular reason as well, you know, he's not sitting out of the fight like most other supports can be. He's actually in the fight, yes, you can take damage, but, you know, having 3 dodges combined with some heavy attacks, and by the time you hit your last word attack, I've noticed your health basically goes back up to what it was starting the fight, depending on different situations, of course. Very situational, but yeah, last word combined with devastating force on this guy, main priority, and this is my best base build for him. Okay, so we're going to move on to Cheryl. So Cheryl, I don't play much of. I probably have, I want to say like a maximum of 10 hours on this character, if that. But her build's very basic. I just went for a bit of balance bar damage to spam some finishes. I want to carry extra amulets. You know, I had like 3 points spare, and I was just debating, like, should I go for balance bar and range weapons? Should I buff up my headshot damage? I just felt like if I did any of that as Cheryl, I just felt like I was either like using up resources for the team or just not playing her effectively. So I thought, why not just put some fear resistance in there, you know, not worry about getting possessed too much with her, and that way I can just focus on healing the team as well. I put an extra point in first aid just for that, like, you know, 20% health recovered. I mean, arguably you could, if you want to start buffing around revive, you could start doing stuff like that, but, you know, she's just like such a basic character at the point where you don't really want to overdo it with her. Once you get some extra prestige points, maybe you can start looking at doing some like devastating force to help you out with the finishes or something. But as a support goes, you know, you've got deep pockets amulets there. You know, you got the extra shems. You start with extra shems, so then it's just like trying to actually look for places to like spend your extra skill points effectively on this character, because she just doesn't really offer too much. Because her kit is just so based around shems and, you know, just basic healing. There's not much else to really go for other than maybe some extra range or melee damage. So like I said, I think for me, the main thing I went for here was like Fear No Evil. I guess you could look at going for Fast Forward for an extra 10% duration reduction there. So what you could do is take some points out of Good Karma, First Aid, and then Fear No Evil, and then you could just, you know, go for Fast Forward like that. That's not a bad choice. Again, it's entirely up to you if you want to sort of put some points into revive perks or go for this. But for me, I personally don't really like getting feared that much. And, you know, I'm not always there to help the team out or to heal them up effectively, or, you know, might have mistimed a Shem string. That's when First Aid and then Good Karma is going to come into play, because at least you'll get some health back for reviving your teammates for, you know, the pair views, basically. So, yeah, that's my best Cheryl build. It's very basic. There might be better Cheryl builds out there, but that's the one I like to run. Okay, so Pablo, I've got quite a lot of hours on, and this is my best Pablo build. So I actually don't max out industrial strength here on this guy, mainly because I wanted the extra point, and like I kind of wanted to focus on damage reduction with him. So the main thing with Pablo is his amulets. Obviously, you can carry 7 amulets. So having the Tougher Than Hell maxed out with reinforced amulet, you know, you get 20% damage reduction there, combined with some industrial strength. Very, very nice indeed. I'm not really bothered about starting with an extra Shems or not. Most of the time I can find enough Shems at the start of the game. Hopefully the demon doesn't find me early on, which they won't because you're playing Pablo. They find it very difficult to find a Pablo, obviously, because he stays hidden from the demon. He also got a buff on his amulets given to teammates, so you know, doing a build like this can be quite effective, mainly because if you use the shields on yourself, your teammates are going to start getting more shield bar. The problem is sometimes I mean, this is really good for solo queue as well, but the annoying thing is people, when they play with Pablo, they don't actually upgrade their shields until last minute, which can be super annoying being a Pablo player, and especially if you've got a Ruby on your team, you just feel even more worthless. So having the Tougher Than Hell or reinforced amulet for yourself rather than your team, and then just focusing the colas for your team, is definitely a good way to play the character as well. And I think he's a solid range character, so being in a range fight, you can kind of do that. However, I just prefer being melee focused. However, what you can do is maybe buff up some hollow points if you wish to do that. Sometimes when I'm playing support, apart from support Ash, I don't really like to use ranged damage, just because I prefer having it for the hunters on the team. So yeah, this is my best Pablo build. This is the one I'd love to run all the time. I do have map brush builds and stuff for him, but this one, if I was going into like a serious game or a game I know it's going to be competitive, this is definitely the one I would run for him. Okay, so the next one is David. So David, I've spent a little bit more time with playing recently as well, and this is my best build build for him. So again, we're going to have the Fear No Evil here. It's going to combine nicely with Beacon of Hope. It works great against Ball, by the way, as well. We actually have Stopping Power maxed out on our range weapons, and we have Seeing Stars maxed out for the melee weapons. Mainly just because I know he has the nail gun. People will use a nail gun on this guy. I enjoy using the nail gun on him. Actually, it's a bit of a meme because basically that perk just puts the nail gun to base stats, but you do get an increased reload speed and an extra bit of balance bar damage, which is very nice. So then, you know, just buffing up the balance bar damage with a nail gun, you're not going to get crazy balance bar damage, but you will notice a difference. However, what you can do instead, if you want to just go for more damage focus, you can, and if you're comfortable hitting headshots, you can do that. However, I'm playing on console. Aim assist is a bitch, so I like to go for balance bar damage with this guy. You know, starting with just an extra 1 Shem's Cola there, carrying extra Shems, carrying extra amulets for the team, just making this guy as useful as possible here. You know, like I said, fear reduction combined with his Beacon of Hope, you'll be able to lower your fear, no problem, and you won't get possessed very often. Using a nail gun, using, you know, balance bar type weapons, stuff you can use finishes with. Again, very, very good for the character. So, again, another basic one, but effective, honestly. I don't really look for doing revive stuff too much with this guy because he has damage reduction there. So later on down the line, once you get some prestige points, I will recommend going for Tougher Than Hell just because you get a 10% damage reduction. And again, this guy's sort of spec'd around damage reduction with his Soda Pop perk. So you obviously get 23% damage reduction there with a 32-second duration, so that works out fantastic as well. So yeah, just trying to stack those together with Tougher Than Hell can be good, or even going for some like reinforced amulet, I guess. You know, there's some interesting builds you can go for him, but like I said, this is my best build I like to run on him, and this is something I would take into a competitive game, definitely. All right, last but definitely least, the Blacksmith. So Blacksmith, he's a bit of a meme character. A lot of people, yes, I know you guys think he's B tier and S tier and he's better than all the other supports in the game, and man, I could go on and on. I hope people going on about this guy. I don't know. I think he gets too much love. Yes, he has the potential to craft some good weapons in the game. I know that. You know, his amulet economy isn't too bad. Which one is it? Rough and Ready. You know, 50% chance your amulet doesn't break. I do not work in chances on this game. I do not like RNG characters. That's why I don't really like Ed Getley too much. But yeah, I mean, an extra 10% damage buff with a shield, it's not too bad. So he's sort of like a leader, support, warrior type of character. He's very cool. You can play him. You will not do terrible. But this is my best build I like to run on him, and I'll explain a few things. So obviously Shems Plus, Awful Dodge is just 1 point. By the way, I forgot to mention this on the previous builds, is that this is obviously just like 3 dodges here. So you don't really need to go for any extra. The next one, I just put, you know, I wanted to go a bit more health damage rather than balance bar damage with this guy. So we got 10% balance bar damage there, which isn't too bad. We got a nice 10% for two-handed weapon, and then we got Last Word as well. So, you know, looking at this, I like to run lumberjack axes and swords and, you know, two-handed weapons. That's just my type of thing. However, you can go for like one-handed if you prefer using something like a mace. However, I feel like most people you play should be using a two-handed weapon. That's just how you get the most damage to help out the team, honestly. Devastating Force just for that overall, you know, damage buff. But yeah, that's it really for the damage side of things. Obviously we have Last Word there if you're using a lumberjack axe, and again, this is what I like to do with the guy because two-handed weapon, lumberjack axe, you're not going to be interrupted. Your final hit is going to do an extra 50% melee damage, which is pretty crazy. So you can hit some crazy damage numbers with this guy. And obviously he has the weapon mastery melee there where he gets an extra 5% attack speed with any weapon. Dismemberment damage, extra balance bar damage, and 20% damage is standard. So he gets like quite a good buff on damage there. Healing wise, you know, he has crazy health as a standard too. So with his perk, he actually has an extra 400 maximum health there. So you can stack that up with Industrial Strength. However, if you want to, you can go for that. But I feel like Industrial Strength actually helps out with the healing side of things. So once you've got Shems Plus with Industrial Strength, you're not really going to notice a difference there. And you should heal your team up a little bit extra as well with that. And then we're just starting the match with 1 extra Shems plus, and then obviously carrying more Shems there. I don't bother going with amulets with this guy, since he has a chance to not actually use an amulet. You know, carrying 4 is more than enough. I don't really want to be spamming amulets with this dude. And anyways, my primary focus is just doing heavy combat, and then obviously drinking some Shems to heal the team. And that's it. But the reason why Blacksmith is so bad, and this is why I hate him, is that he is designed to be in combat. And the problem is, he is a support, so he's not going to do crazy damage still. He does have, obviously, a damage reduction on his melee attacks. So the annoying thing is that people play this guy, they want to go crazy on a leaderboard, trying to showcase how much damage they can do with a Blacksmith support character. It's not a way to design any character, honestly. Like I said, the last word is there to really help you out, swinging those heavy attacks and to try and help your teammates out and to kill something as quick as possible, because what you don't want is going into so much like combat with this guy, you're draining your own health and not actually being an effective healer for your team that way, and then you're draining your own resources, you know. So again, it's all about play styles at the end of the day. I just think this guy definitely should not have been designed with the way he was. The problem is, with him being a support character, he's just still too squishy. And he'll still end up taking quite a bit of damage and consuming resources that the team will desperately need later on down the line in a game. But this is my best build on him. I go for overall damage, you know, two-handed weapon focus there. And once I have him prestiged, what I would do is obviously buff up heavy hitter there. I don't really agree using one-handed weapons in this game unless you're playing support Ash or a hunter. One-handed weapons, apart from the mace, of course, I just don't think work that great in the game. Right, so we're going to round it off there, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video and found it very informative to having all the best builds on every character all in one place. Obviously, some of you will probably just skip through the video to the certain point in time of what that particular character you wanted to see the best build for, but yeah, it took me a long time to design these builds, and you know, just looking at them, yes, there's just so many different avenues to explore and so many different characters as well. But these are just my personal best ones. These are the ones that I will use going into competitive games. If I ever, you know, if this game ever had a competitive scene, which it doesn't, but you know, this is the ones I would take to perform the best, and make sure I'm surviving whilst, you know, not hindering or bringing the team down, definitely. I think they're the most effective builds for each character in the game. You guys might have different opinions, that's totally fine. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Leave me a like, hit the sub button for more Evil Dead content, leave me a comment down below, let me know what you guys thought of each build for every survivor. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Pixels, you my awesome viewers. I'll catch you guys in the next one.